As they always say, records are meant to be broken. In sports, record exists as a sense of accomplishment or even dishonor. Whether you're a trendsetter who changes the game, the greatest of your generation just before the game changes, the rare mix of durability and skill that is the milestone of greatness, or even the opposite of all of those. Holding a record in sports is something few will ever do. This is what you don't know about our favorite records. Welcome to What You Don't Know About Sports, where we delve into the forgotten stories, teams, and athletes of sports history and question widely held takes on today's sports. I'm Matt, and this is Blake.
Hello, everyone.
And this is an episode theme we've done the last couple of years at Thanksgiving, telling you some things that we're thankful for, getting a chance to do a little bit less research, let our hair down a little bit. I can't do that very well, but
I was gonna say, how are you doing with that?
Yeah, this year we're talking about the sports records we're most thankful for, and we're gonna dispatch with our little opening question because most of this will be a little bit conversational anyway, and we're also gonna merge trivia here with the storytelling. So, Blake, I'll give you the honors of going first.
What?
I know, yeah. You tell me what record you're thankful for, what record you're a fan of that you like, and I'll figure out who currently holds that record, and then you can tell us why you like it.
All right. Okay. What should I pick first? I'm gonna go with women's college basketball. It's gonna be way simpler than I just made it seem, I think.
Okay.
But
I may know this one. I may not.
The head coach with the most NCAA women's basketball championships.
So it's either Summit or Gino Auriemma, and I don't know the answer, so I'm going to. I could either make it easier on myself and be like, "What color do they wear? What is the primary color?" Or I could just guess. Yeah. I could just guess and go for it. It's Pat Summitt.
That is not the right answer.
Dang. Okay, I didn't know. Gino Auriemma.
Gino Auriemma has 11 championships. That women's college basketball. Yeah. With 11. UConn also holds the most for women's college basketball with 11. This is, we all probably understand that the competitiveness of women's college basketball is not as strong as men's college basketball. You will periodically see, like if in men's college basketball, for example, when two ranked teams go at it, no matter the number, it's much more likely to be a close game. But when like a one-ranked UConn plays a 20th ranked somebody, they could still win by 50. Yeah. But I think all of this attention that Gino's brought to women's college basketball is as good as it gets for women's basketball in general, or women's sports in general, because he created a dynasty there that people wanted to hate, right? Which ultimately helped every other team's recruiting process. Because at some point, all the great players go to UConn, and they for a while there they were getting seemingly whoever they wanted, with a few exceptions. But now it seems more and more, and this is like a college sports wide thing. You see it in basketball with really high ranked players choosing HBCUs instead of SEC schools for football or whatever. But it's almost like his dynasty there kind of created the competition because there wasn't much before he started winning. Once he started winning, people started taking it a lot more seriously. It seemed so. I think his 11 titles with UConn have been incredibly good for the sport as a whole because it brought a lot of attention to it. And that created that natural competition amongst all the teams, and it just seems like that has been good for the sport. If somebody knows differently, but speaking from an outsider, not a serial follower of like the recruiting stuff for women's college basketball, it just seems really good for the sport and women's sports in general.
Yeah, Gino Auriemma, that UConn thing seems a lot for women's college basketball, seems a lot like the UCLA dynasty in the 70s in men's college basketball. And I think the same kind of forces that you were mentioning, those are the same ideas that brought UCLA eventually down, and to the point where they probably are on the edge of blue blood status, as we discussed last episode. I think you're right. I think that 11 titles is probably something that will stand, much like some of Wooden's stuff has stood at UCLA, because Dawn Staley at South Carolina is doing some really great things and is building a powerhouse there. But there are other places that are getting 5-star recruits. Stanford is sticking around in everybody's being kind of the fly in the ointment situation. Louisville has had a continuously good women's program. Notre Dame, North Carolina State recently has committed to women's basketball, and I think some institutions are starting to do that, focusing on women's basketball specifically, and so that's gonna make it harder to do. One of the ones that I had thought about choosing was UConn's 111 consecutive wins. Yeah. Which beat the record. They started that record in 2011, and that record beat the one that they had just set in like 2010. So
right, they literally lost the game and did it again.
Almost 200 consecutive wins with a little blemish in the way. So yeah, I don't think that's one of the signs that your sport is a developing sport and not a developed one, because you've got this giant dynasty that nobody can topple. And I think women's college basketball is well on its way to being developed fully.
100%. And I think a big part of it too is that a men's coach or a man coach a women's team, like that just looks different to the outside person also. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it helped him in like recruiting or anything necessarily, but it just seems like that's just not something you see, right? Obviously women don't coach men's sports 99.999% of the time. And you don't really see that many men coaching women's sports on a college level, but he's done it. For one, like he got the job, and two, he's just been the best at it. So like the optics of that situation also makes the situation brighter, I think, as a whole.
Yep. All right. My record, I chose some that I think they're unbreakable enough that they don't change hands regularly, if ever. But they are in fact breakable, even if people don't think they are. So that's some of the ones I chose. The record that I'm most thankful for, you're gonna get this answer pretty quick, but is the hit streak in Major League Baseball. Most games with a consecutive hit.
It's quite an impressive record because someone recently just got quote unquote real close, like as close as anyone has ever gotten, and was still like not very close. But it's Joe DiMaggio.
Yep.
Was it
Joe DiMaggio?
51?
56?
56?
56, over a third of the season in today's game. It was
Ridiculous.
then back then too, but yeah, 56 games. And here's why I enjoy this record. I don't know that it ever will be broken, but it's not because it can't. It is possible that somebody goes on a tear like this. And here's why it's the record that I like the most, because I like all sports. I know there's some people that are like, baseball, hate baseball, no thanks. Or they'll say that about whatever other sport. I like them all. And this is the one record in any sport that I think would drive interest the way the home run chase did in like 1998, where it's the topic of conversation on the nightly news every night. It's not just Sports Center. It's not just nightly or just in conversation about sports. It's in newspapers in the main section. And I think it because it's happened a couple times where guys get quote unquote close, and it does start to generate buzz. And it's something that's every day. It's something you can tune in for. You get a guy that gets to 20 games in a row.
That's impressive.
That's impressive. Like at 10 and 15, it starts being mentioned on the game broadcast for the local broadcasters. When you get to 15 and 20, it's Sports Center and like MLB Tonight and all that stuff are talking about it. If you can get to 30, which has only happened very few times, if you can get to 30, then it is like nightly news, interrupt whatever is actually happening on ESPN to show picture in picture for this guy's at bats. It would be something that the country and countries, now that Major League Baseball is an international game for sure, would be tuning in regularly to watch. And I just think that's good for sports in general, having that day-to-day storyline that people are plugged into. You're cheering for the guy. Even if you don't like the team he's on, you don't want him to succeed, a lot of people would be cheering for him. So yeah, the 56-game hitting streak is the record that I think's the coolest, would be the way to put it.
It's 100% attainable. I just don't think anyone wants that record because we're not hitting for singles. People just aren't hitting that way anymore.
Yeah.
I have a record that's in the same vein that I'll go next with in a minute. It's in the same vein. It's like it is a baseball record that could be done if the game was played a little differently, or if players thought about hitting differently, and I just don't foresee that happening. It's if you think about Aaron Judge's home run chase recently, right?
Sure.
Like that just happened not that long ago. That was a nightly annoyance. Just about.
No,
Just
amazing.
about. Just
great.
about. Well, the difference is that you're tuning into every at bat. How long did he go? How many games did he go between 60 and 62? That it felt like months. It felt
And
like it took so long, and they would cut away from whatever we were watching and make you watch a picture in picture
right.
of his at bat, and it's just like,
and that would be
okay,
different.
fine.
That would be different here because you would be getting today it either keeps going or we're done. You're right.
Right. And it's like, oh, we got to wait till tomorrow to see if he does it. It's like a NBA player 30-point consecutive game scoring streak, or like you said, it's a nightly thing in baseball, and that's what makes it so fun. Because it's a longevity thing too, right? You have to not only be there every day, you have to be able to hit. And if you really think about it, baseball players, it's the mindset is very different, but we're taking more off days, and we're resting. And when we do go up to the plate, we're not Ichiro Suzuki swinging slaps for singles anymore. I don't know. It's very different, and I don't know that it ever will be, but I think you're right. I think it's certainly possible.
Yeah, I think it's within somebody's reach somewhere, but I don't know that it ever will happen. But the fact that you could imagine it
That would
is
be an
enough.
amazing. That
Yeah.
would be an amazing thing to watch. Like you said, people get halfway to the record, and it's like, oh my god, they're at 23
Yeah.
consecutive hits. It's like,
Yeah.
y'all realize the record is like a lot more than that, right?
Yeah. No, that's
Like
the thing is,
they
yeah.
make a huge deal about it because it is a big deal, but the record is just so much farther down the road. You can't even see the record yet, and
Trey,
everybody's just killing the hype for it.
yeah, Trey Turner this year hitting 26 consecutive games, which is over a month
It's long. That's a
of
lot.
baseball, and he still had 30 games to go.
It's stupid.
26 is incredible. You got to hit every day this month. You're the player of the month. He slashed like some ungodly number of through the streak, but hey, you still got a month and a half of work left.
You're not even halfway there, Papa.
Like, come on now.
It's nuts. That's ridiculous. I am going to go with another baseball one next, just because we're on the topic. Most career walks.
Oh, like, okay, walks like earned. Most walks.
Any walk, not necessarily in. It can be intentional or earned. Yeah.
Right, but a batter, not pitcher. Batter.
Yes, batter.
Okay, there are multiple candidates here. There's one leader in my head. Well, who did the record holder play for? I don't know the number. I'm just going to tell you straight up.
Most notably, I didn't know the number either. I had to look it up, but I was like, this would be something cool to figure out. You would know them as a member of the Pirates and the Giants.
Okay, so it's Barry Bonds.
Yeah. I had to throw the Pirates in there because that might throw you off, but no.
No,
For a second.
I knew both.
I thought I had you for a second there.
Most notably, I was like, most notably. Oh no, we're good.
I had to throw the Pirates in there to make it see if that makes a difference. So Barry Bonds is the all-time MLB career walks leader. He has 2,558 walks across his career. He also holds the 3 seasons with the most walks in a single season. He's the top 3. 04, 02, and 01. 01 is when he broke the record.
Right.
And 2 of the next 3 seasons, he broke that record, that season's walk record, for himself. Most notably, I think he has 2,558 for his career. The most interesting part is I think there was only 4 active players as of this past season in the top 100 for career walks. Pujols, who is no longer, Joey Votto, Miguel Cabrera, and Carlos Santana. Pujols has just barely over half the number of career walks, and Pujols is an incredible hitter. Like, yes, he just passed 700 home runs, but he is he could hit anything, anywhere. But this record is so incredible to me because we forget about Barry Bonds because of all this stuff, and he's not in the Hall of Fame and everything he did. But yes, he got he got more walks later in his career because he was bigger and he was hitting more home runs and stuff. And some of these are intentional, of course. He also earned a lot of them, right? And how do you earn walks? By not swinging the way that people swing today. In the same vein as the hit streak, in my opinion anyway, it just seems as though this is never going to be close again. No one is going to get close to over 2,500 career walks because we're not waiting like that. Like, hitters aren't patient like that. And it just, like, I wanted to ask you, what does that say, in your opinion, about the evolution of hitters today versus the past and what their mindset is? I think we know the answer, but.
So yeah, there's definitely been a change over time. If you think about like dumb jocks and nerds as being like two sides of a war for a lot of time, we were pegged on the dumb jock side of the situation where we just kind of ignored any kind of extra logic that came from outside of baseball. And now we have swung the entire opposite direction where it seems like the quote unquote nerds are running the show, but it's like not. It's nerds whose information is being willingly accepted by the dumb jocks who then completely misinterpret the situation as a whole. And so, like, strikeouts are just completely ignored. Like what you were saying, Barry Bonds in that streak where we all knew he was juicing and was just the example of what an alien would look like playing baseball. He only struck out 100. First of all, he only struck out over 100 times one time in his career, which was his rookie season. That 4-year stretch where he was a monster, he only struck out over 50 times twice. Once was the year he broke the record. And then another time was in 03. He struck out 58 times. Would be absolutely ridiculous in today's game to see a guy that only struck out that little. And so people are ignoring strikeouts as a negative in today's game. It's like, oh, you struck out, bummer. Oh, you hit the ball hard, but it was a high fly ball that went nowhere, bummer. And it's like, no, like the whole reason the shift can't be broken is because somebody's sitting around saying, well, if he bunts to third base, he's only getting a single. And it's probably not going to be a single every time because he's going to bunt foul 3 times once or twice out of every 100. And when we do the math, he's better off hitting into the shift and getting on base 1 out of 10 times than he is bunting to left to third base every time because that one's going to be a double. And it's like, I get the math, but like at some point we're playing a game of baseball here. Like, and so the approach has completely changed. People aren't hitting for contact as much. They're trying to hit the bottom half of the ball. They're trying to swing down to hit the bottom half of the ball and generate backspin with as much power as they can because you're using gravity to help you get the bat through the zone. So that idea, you're not looking for a walk either, right? That fastball that's a little bit high that you think you can drive, that you would tell every child ever to not swing at because you're never going to catch up to it. Just go for it. Because if you do catch up to it, it's going 500. So why not? That exit velo on that pitch is going to be 120. Let's go for it.
Oh, yeah.
And so you're only going to hit it 1 out of 100 times, but hey, 125, you're going to smack it. So go for it.
Yeah, it's frustrating to watch. It's hard.
By the way, that Bonds thing, like, is again because he was on a different planet. They walked him with the bases loaded.
Yes,
one time
they were that afraid of him hitting the ball,
which is another numbers thing, and it was absolutely right. Like, this guy's gonna hit a grand slam. We know he's gonna hit a grand slam.
That's all he's going up there to do.
He's gonna, if we put this ball anywhere in the zone, it's going to go far, and the next guy is not. So we'll take the run.
Give up 1 instead of 4. Yeah.
And that's the only time, maybe in baseball history, where somebody, I mean, those 4 seasons are 4 statistical marvels.
Mm-hmm.
In terms, just like slugging, on base plus slugging percentage is crazy. And then you factor in the fact that he was seeing pitches some nights, 1 at bat. You're right. That guy, nobody's walking that much ever.
No, but you may think like, oh, he was only, like you said, he was only great in from 2000 to 2004, 2001 to 2004. It's like no, he wasn't. Like, if that's what you believe, then you don't know what you're talking about, because he was always a really, I would say, good to really good hitter. He just became great when he put on a bunch of weight and could jack home runs anytime he wanted to. But that doesn't mean that he was a scrub the rest of the time, because he would not be first in all-time career walks if he was roiding how many years? Just a few years out of his career. He would not have that many, assumably. He would not have this many. He would not have the first place on the career walks list if he wasn't great before that.
Yeah, he led with the Pirates and then with the Giants. He led baseball in walks before the Royd alleged seasons. He led baseball in walks 4 out of 5 seasons from 92 to 97. And set the record for single season walks a couple times in that stretch.
Right.
So yeah, he was doing his job before the
All-time great hitter regardless. So let's put that out there. But anyway, yeah, that's never
still.
going to happen again. I don't think anyone's ever going to reach 2,500 walks in their career because we're just not going for that. Like we're going to hit 10,000 strikeouts in a career before we hit 2,500 walks.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree 100%. Man, I'm just thinking back to Bob. Like, he is
just watching him swing a baseball.
For anybody out there whose stance on performance enhancing drugs is like, just give them all the PEDs and just see what happens. Bonds is the closest example.
That's what would happen.
To like give one of the best some extra oomph. There you go.
Imagine Judge. Judge would break 90. Like,
yeah.
Good God. Anyway, your turn.
Bonds was playing on easy mode there for a little bit. All right. My second record, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to do two because they involve the same person.
Okay.
Twice.
This is going to make my job easy, I think.
It is going to make your job easy.
Okay.
So these are two records that will be broken. Should be broken. That's what the language we'll use there. In the next 2 years. And so the record I'm looking for here, all-time All-Star game appearances in the NBA and the all-time leading scorer in the NBA.
I'm gonna be 100% honest. As soon as you said this should be broken in the next 2 years, I knew what your question was. At least one of them.
Yeah,
I didn't know the All-Star game thing. That's cool, but the all-time points is going to be broken within. It might actually be middle of next season by LeBron because he's ungodly at basketball.
But who holds them both? Now.
Kareem is at least for. I didn't know the All-Star game thing, but is he number one in All-Star game appearances?
Yeah, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar appeared in 19 All-Star games, and he is the NBA's all-time leading scorer with 38,387 points. And LeBron James is on pace to break both. This year, if he makes the All-Star game, will be his 19th All-Star game appearance. And next year, if he were to make the All-Star team, would be his 20th All-Star appearance. And that longevity, coupled with him being good, I know there's a lot of haters out there. We've created that in our society, like the hate that never goes away, which is odd.
Like, how does he not win your heart yet? Like, for God's sake, what else does he have to do?
Yeah. Like in hindsight, it's always fun to hate the giant, to hate the thing that's out there just dominating. Like, that is a thing that people are kind of ingrained to do. But eventually you respect it. And that has never happened with him. There's a lot of reasons for that. You could probably like get a PhD in sociology studying this, but the two records, I mostly was caring about the point scored record, but then I noticed that it was Kareem with the All-Star game appearance record too. Their longevity and their greatness, and it's something obviously that's attainable because LeBron is doing it, but it's something that is not. You can't be the best of your generation. It's like the best of. It skips a generation or two before you get somebody that gets the perfect circumstances and the perfect skill set and the right body to do this. And it's not just about being the best, because Jordan isn't the all-time leading scorer because he had stuff go on in his career that kept him from doing that. Shaq's not the all-time leading scorer. It wasn't Kobe, though. As soon as Shaq left, God knows he tried.
He did try.
It's not anybody else. It's going to be LeBron James for both of them. And I think that stands as something that shows in hindsight, when we look back, just how good he was, even against the guys he got drafted with, right? Dwayne Wade, for part of their careers, was the better player. He didn't reach this level.
Longevity.
Carmelo is going to be is in the top 10 of points scored, but never reached this point, right? Everybody else from his generation has stopped being an all-star. They've stopped being one of the greats. LeBron is still there, not somebody that can win a championship by himself anymore. Like, he's not a top 3 or 5 player in the league, but he is still an all-star caliber player. And
Easy.
and to be at one that long is incredible in the NBA.
I don't understand. I truly do not understand. Like, when I ask people, why do you hate LeBron? You know what they say? I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you mean you don't know? Like, don't you have to have a reason? Like, what did he do? What did he do that you hate so much? Like, what did he do? Because he joined a super team? You're ignorant if you think he's the first one to ever do that.
Yeah.
Is it because I mean, do you hate that he started a school for underprivileged kids in his neighborhood and gives them all free bikes to ride to school? Like, what do you hate about this guy? He's done everything right. He's never had anything wrong in his personal life. He's got a bunch of healthy kids who are going to come behind him and are also really great athletes. He's been in a relationship with the same woman since high school or something. Like, what hasn't this man done that would satisfy the person that hates this guy? Like, if you ask him, he's like, yeah, whatever. People are just going to be that way. Like, I don't effing care, whatever. Like, he's going to write it off because he's used to it at this point. But it still blows my mind.
Yeah, I think part of it is that we give a forum to this conversation, right? Like, every day on ESPN and FS1, it's debate shows, and you have to have the opposite opinion to have those shows. Where during Jordan's career, for instance, that those time slots were news shows, NBA Tonight, whatever, and so that there was less opinion, even though like sports radio still had those things. There was less of a forum. So now we give a forum to people, and then there are people who just hear it and are like, yeah, because I'm sure there are people that hated Jordan, just nobody gave them the forum to make that opinion be big. So even as kids growing up, it was like Gatorade, McDonald's, Nike, Michael Jordan's the greatest, like was the opinion everybody had. And now it's like LeBron is a crybaby, and it's like, well, all NBA players are crybabies because the refs allow them to be. Like, I don't. Well, LeBron's not special in the crybaby. It is, yeah. It's like, well, LeBron never got a clothesline from Kevin McHale, and it's like, have you seen LeBron?
LeBron would clothesline
exactly
Kevin McHale.
One clothesline. Yeah, he would have taken one from Kevin McHale, and then Kevin McHale would have done nothing else outside of a wheelchair for the rest of his life. Like, I don't understand like some of the hate because yes, he was whiny, and all NBA players are whiny, and he's the best one, so we gotta hate. But the level of greatness for the level of time is something that you will not see again until you're much older.
We are not appreciating it. Like, as a society, we are not appreciating everything that he's done in general, in life, in nonprofit, and in business, and in sport, and role modeling. Like, how in any way possible is he a bad role model in any of those? Like, he's a self-made billionaire, just about. Yeah. Like, what can't he do? What hasn't he done? He hasn't sold his soul. All of his business partners, or most of his business partners, are his friends from high school. Like, what? I don't get it. That would take a PhD level research project to figure out, like anonymous polling and stuff. You'd have to just ask random people who are older than us. I feel like a lot of time it comes from people older than us because of the Jordan era. Or
Jordan's better
than why is he compared to Jordan? Because they're not the same player. But we could write a paper on this. Maybe we should. Maybe that's our next thing.
He also, just as a side note, has an outside shot, and it's not much of an outside shot because he said he wants to play until his kid makes the league. And so he's got an outside shot at beating Robert Parrish's games played record. I'm sorry if that was one of the ones you were going to pick.
Nope.
but he also could be the player with the most games played ever in an era where guys don't play games because
And
they're
some of
tired and
that
whiny.
you can like balance that out a little bit though with the number of playoff games he has the ability to play in, I think, though, right?
But that's regular season games played.
It's all regular season. The points total
And the points totals regular season and the games played are regular season total. And
Oh,
even so, the NBA has taken 8 teams in relatively the same format forever.
for a while.
For all those guys, Parrish, Kareem,
Yeah. Okay.
LeBron, they've first round used to be 5 games instead of 7, but yeah.
Right. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, he'll definitely do it, and I'm gonna be there for it. I don't know about any of you other haters, but I'm gonna be there for it. All right, what do I want to do next? I'm gonna do one. I'm gonna do a sport we haven't talked about. We're going golf. It's gonna be the easiest one of the night. Most weeks at world number one.
Tiger Woods.
Do y'all want to know who's the second place? Who's in second place?
It's got to be somebody relatively ish new because the world number one is not super old.
Ish new, yeah. You like the world hates him at the moment. If that helps you any.
Oh, it's Phil.
Nope.
Oh, good, because he sucks. Who else?
Greg Norman.
Greg Norman.
Greg Norman is
yeah,
second.
the only person to hate more than Phil is Greg Norman.
Selling your soul for blood money, right?
Do they let you spend money when it's still stained, or do you have to
only
wash it first? Or?
No, it's okay. They take that. They take that.
Right.
Tiger was the world number one golfer for 683 weeks.
Yeah.
Norman is second on that list at 331. Dustin Johnson is third at 135 weeks. I don't know. I don't think anybody's forgotten how good Tiger was. But if you have, get yourself on the YouTubes and just watch winning majors by double-digit strokes. And I don't remember golf without him. No. Like as someone of this relative age, I don't remember golf without him. And it seems as though he was the catalyst to open golf to a segment of the world that it wasn't possible for before. People like the same with like Serena and tennis. People have said that about Serena playing tennis, and it's like, wow, I didn't know blank could play like that. I didn't know that like they could do that. And it's like, well, yeah, you can. And those two in particular in their relative sports, Tiger in this instance, has done the most for golf of anybody in history, in my opinion, just because of how great he was. Like he didn't just show up and swing a club and miss a bunch of cuts and like make enough money to get by. Dude is the greatest golfer of all time, all things considered, and is now caddying his son, who may very well be the next GOAT. But his impact on the game, just in general, has just been incredible, and it's an increasingly popular sport for sections of the population who wouldn't have played it 20, 30 years ago and wouldn't have the ability or wouldn't have the knowledge or wouldn't have the desire. And he has just brought that to light in such an incredible way. And regardless, like, yes, he's won all these things and world number one and stuff, but just being relatively good could have done that. But in the way that he did it, and having that like huge chunk of his career that he didn't play, like he went however long without winning a major, came back and did it again, just like on the win. He's like, I guess I'll go win the Masters today, and he just did it.
Yeah, that dude, and the number of weeks at number one obviously is indicative of the fact that nobody challenged him outside of Phil Mickelson with any regularity, right? Like Sergio Garcia popped up and then popped out, and at the beginning of his career, David Duval popped in, popped out, Phil always kind of hung around, but never there. And part of that is some decision making, and golf is so finite that there's some coin flip things that if they go a different way, Tiger doesn't have the exact same career, and somebody else might have a little bit better one. But all those things happening the way they did, I don't see that one. That's could be approachable, but not. It would be interesting to see if you could gather enough data and apply the ranking methodology we use now to some seasons in the past to get a range of like just how good that is for Arnold Palmer or not Greg Norman, Jack Nicklaus. The several groups of kind of 3 or 4 that have led golf through the years. Yeah. How many weeks at number 1 would they have been? Because there's some records that those old timers hold that are different. So is it possible to get that many weeks at number 1 from somebody else? We're not sure yet because we hadn't gone through another spell with a group of dominant characters yet, but maybe, I don't know.
I wonder if the Palmer era would be split so much between Palmer, Nicklaus, and Player because they were all so good at the same time. Like Tiger, people won majors around Tiger and stuff, but it's almost like imagine what would have happened if Federer had not needed to compete against Nadal and Djokovic.
Right. How many?
Imagine how many he would have won. Mm-hmm. Like that's Tiger's golf career in a sense, because no one was at his level and no one still is. And it's only getting more competitive, right? For the reason I stated earlier. It's like he has brought new people into the sport starting almost 30 years ago at this point. Mid-90s is when he emerged. It's been almost 30 years at this point since he was introduced as a professional, and it's only going to get more competitive because people who would not have played golf and didn't play golf then can now, in a sense. Yeah. Or they at least feel like they have a way in now, right? And so they have the ability to become pro golfers in an inspirational sense and in an actual logistical sense.
Yeah, it goes back to the opening. He's a trendsetter who changed the game. And in a lot of ways, it's the same conversation we had about UConn women's basketball. You could make the case that golf, even though it had been around forever and ever and ever, was not fully developed until some of the best athletes, Tiger Woods, not sure how he would do in basketball, but clearly the skills are there to be, an athlete. When some actually really good athletes start playing the game of golf, it changes it. And I think there are some now. There definitely were some in the past, but I think there are more now, so the competition is stiffer.
Yeah. Well, maybe with everyone defecting to live.
Maybe we get another dominant.
Maybe we can have somebody. Yeah. If like some of the decent players get out of the way, then someone's going to show, like, would Rory be number 1 in the world as of this recording if that had not happened? I don't know.
Those guys started to lose rating points. Yeah.
Somebody. Yeah.
All right. I said my list were things that were kind of held up and could be breakable. The record I'm getting ready to say, it's going to make you not believe me, but I've got a reason. So the next record that I'm most thankful for is the wins record in Major League Baseball. Most wins by a pitcher in Major League Baseball.
You're saying that can be broken?
Yeah, you got to tell me who it is first.
No way.
You got to tell me who it is, and then we'll get to the...
Isn't it Nolan Ryan?
No.
Wins record.
The case. Yeah, the wins record.
Strikeouts. Wins would be Ty Cobb, yeah?
No, that's...
Not Ty Cobb. Yeah. Cy Young. Jesus. I say one when I mean the other all the time. But yeah, Cy Young.
It's okay. I called Walter Johnson...
Christy Mathewson or whatever.
Christy Mathewson, yeah. All right, so
That's how you
and
know
was
this
very
is
sure.
authentic. Jesus.
Yeah, because we say the wrong things.
Because we just screwed up.
All right, so Cy Young is the career record holder in wins, and he currently has 511. I said currently as if maybe he'll get some more. I don't know.
He's
He
got
has
time.
five. He's got 511 wins. Walter Johnson is second with 417. This record is as old as baseball itself, and is long been predicted to never be broken. Here is the issue I take with the record can never be broken thing. More and more pitching staffs have gone to this idea of an opener from time to time rather than a starter. Just same idea. Still the guy that starts first, but he's only throwing an inning or two. He's going to go the first time through the order and then he's out. And even teams that are still embracing starters take them out after 4 innings, take them out after 3 innings, take them out.
On a
With the game
no-hitter
tied,
seventh.
with a no-hitter still going on,
Jesus.
They lose the lead, they come back. So there are plenty of wins out there that do not go to starting pitchers. And I would like to venture this point to you with the advent of like guys not getting out of 3 or 4 innings, even when they're pitching well. Like they've another baseball thing is they've ingrained themselves in this idea that the third time through the order, a pitcher is so ineffective that we should pull him out. The Tampa Bay Rays probably lost a World Series because of this a couple of years ago. The guy, the man that takes the mound for the very first pitch of the game, if he does not throw 5 innings, he cannot be the winner of the game. This is something that I was unaware of. It's not just the guy who was pitching when the team took the lead. If that guy doesn't go the first 5 innings as the starter, after that, it's supposed to be, right, whoever the most effective pitcher is. Now, traditionally, that is the guy other than the starter who was on the mound when the winning team took the lead. But it doesn't have to be. So if you took over for me, I started, went 3 innings, right? Got pulled. I can't win even no matter what happens. We were up 10 runs. You show up and it's a bullpen day, so you're pitching your inning no matter how terrible you do. Good luck. And you give up 10 runs to tie the game on your inning, and then we come back and score to take the lead again and then never relinquish it. Under the rules, you are allowed to be the winner, but the official scorer can say, nah, he sucked. Can't not giving him the win. It's their discretion to give it to the most effective pitcher. So this is the long form way of saying there are pitchers out there who make 50 and 60 appearances a year. What is to stop teams from using pitchers creatively and putting them? One of the problems with closers is that you put your best bullpen arm in the 9th inning no matter what, even though the 9th inning is not necessarily the most high leverage situation of the game. What stops guys from using like Clayton Kershaw later in his career? You're going to throw the 4th, 5th, and 6th inning for us, and you're going to do it once every 3 days instead of once every 5 days. We're going to let you throw your bullpen session in a live game. What stops that from happening? And guys get wins that way and start getting 25 and 30 and 40 wins in a season because of that. It's different. It's not the way we think of the record, but it is possible for somebody to get to 511 with the way the game is changing.
Wouldn't that require a rule change?
Nope.
Like, I mean, you said it was up to the discretion to decide whoever was the most effective.
Yes. So if the losing pitcher is always the pitcher that gives up the losing run, no matter what, the winning pitcher by rule is given to the most effective pitcher. If the guy that started, if the team loses the lead for the starter, or if the starter doesn't go 5 innings and it can't go to the starter. So you throw a guy out there for inning 1 and 2, and then you bring in another guy for 3, 4, 5. He does a good job. He could get the win every single time. And he doesn't have to pitch every 5 days because he's only pitching 3 innings or 2 innings.
So that would take a philosophy shift from teams to not place who would currently be their starters, to not put them in at the very beginning of the games. Then they would pitch like the middle third or more, be the most effective pitcher, and get the W. That's an interesting philosophy shift. Maybe I've never heard of this, but I mean, maybe that's a thing. Like, I don't know of any instances where this has happened, obviously, but maybe that's possible. That's an interesting way to get it. But even still, do you think that even if that does happen, right? I think you said it. It would taint the record a little if someone did catch 511 career wins, and you were able to determine that 80% of them were done in relief. It's like, that's not the same thing.
So, but it's possible because, all right, here's the stat. This was written this year in April. So it was toward the end of the first month of the season. When it was written, there had been 244 games played in that first month or so. So 488 pitchers had started games. The average start was 4.72 innings per start. So on average, pitchers did not make it. You're
not getting a win.
So on average, the average pitcher, somebody else got the win in that game, every single game. That's average. It obviously didn't happen every single game. But it's your best reliever comes in. I don't know. It becomes a thing. The reason we put our closers in the ninth inning is because it came, but there's a stat for it. It's saves.
Yeah.
Well, if it became a stat and people started paying players based on this stat
to be a reliever,
and the win is here, this is where we need the win because
those are the money innings, for example.
Yeah.
Like pitching 3rd through the 7th or 4th through the 6th is most important. Like let a guy with something nasty, like a really fast fastball or a really nasty pitch that they are not going to hit cold, for example, go first.
Goes
through
first
the batting order.
Yep.
Get maybe allow a couple if somebody connects, but then you bring the guy who's got multiple pitches or whatever, like your starter, like a Kershaw or whoever, a Verlander, out of the bullpen in the 3rd or 4th, and then let them be the most effective, in air quotes. I wonder who's going to do that first. Somebody will start doing that for whatever reason, not necessarily because like, oh, I want to break the wins record, but somebody will, like, your sports nerds are going to be like, oh, the 9th is not where we need Aroldis Chapman. We need Aroldis Chapman throwing in the 5th. Like,
well, now we don't need Aroldis Chapman throwing anything, but yes,
whatever. But before, like when he was throwing 106 or whatever he could clock, that's what we need through the second and 3rd batting orders, for example, because they won't catch up to it. Or I don't know.
Yeah, it probably won't happen. I'm just making the case that it is possible.
Sure,
that it could. It is not as unbreakable with evolution of the game. It's not as unbreakable as we think it is.
I think it would be tainted like the home run record, not in the same way, obviously, but somebody would be like, he didn't win 511 starts though. Like that's harder.
It would not be
like
the same record. Yeah,
our grandparents would be like, oh, that's harder to start the game or like whatever.
Yeah. Well, it is.
Sure,
it is. They would absolutely be right, but
it's still not the same thing. Yeah,
it would taint the record.
You would have to make like a secondary win, like call it something different.
Yeah. It would be challenging. Anyway,
interesting thought though.
Yeah.
Very well. That was quite entertaining.
What do you think?
That was quite entertaining.
Any more rapid fire you just want to throw out there?
I found a few really interesting ones. This is not a question for you, but I did not realize that Babe Ruth only had one MVP award, and it's because prior winners could not be considered until like 1928. The first person to win multi MVPs was Jimmy Fox, because before 1928, which is when Ruth was the most disgusting, I would think, he won it in 1923 and was ineligible to win it again until the rule change. So that's cool. So I guess the question would be, who's the first multi MVP winner? And it's Jimmy Fox.
Jimmy Fox, okay, yeah.
I did not realize until thinking about this that that Hank Aaron has 3,000 hits without any of his home runs.
That's incredible.
Which is stupid.
Is that the most? That's not the most hits without home runs counting though? But I'm sure that's.
I mean,
that's
he's like high on the all time hits list, but he has like 3,770 something. So he would have like 3,020 hits without any of his home runs.
Wow.
Similar to Gretzky, like he would own the points record even if you took all of his goals away.
Right.
He would have it just on assists alone. I do have a question. Who is the only Super Bowl MVP to solely play on special teams? Do you know that?
Desmond Howard.
Yeah. I didn't know that either until recently.
Returned the kickoff. That's the first Super Bowl I remember watching, like not necessarily start to finish, but being aware of like what was happening and understanding what was going on. Yeah, he returned the kickoff in that game and was the MVP.
Yeah, 244 all-purpose yards from punt and kick returns alone.
Yeah,
and won the Super Bowl MVP. He's the only person to play. He's the only one to win the Super Bowl MVP solely playing on special teams. Like you think of like a Cordero Patterson or a Devin Hester type returner.
Yeah, but he was
this generation's like, oh, Desmond Howard's just a goon on TV. Like, no,
and he didn't play. He didn't play every down much in the NFL. But yeah, that he ran I think it was a kick return back for a touchdown. He might have had another one.
I think it was a kickoff return and then a punt. Yeah, he had a lot of punt yards.
Flipped the field a couple times, which made a huge difference in the game. And so, yeah. Yeah, that's cool.
There's your trivia for the week, folks. Or I guess 2 weks until you get more from us.
Yeah, could have made that more fun for everybody by not just being like Desmond Howard.
I got it. It's fine.
All right, folks, tell us about your favorite sports records and be sure to let us know what stories you want us to tell by letting us know by email or on our socials. And until next time, that's what you don't know about our favorite sports records. Thanks for listening.
Bye. Thank you for listening to this episode of What You Don't Know About Sports. If you enjoyed what you heard today, please leave us a review, 5 stars only please, and hit that subscribe button wherever you listen. If you have a great sports story, we want to hear about it. You can connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at WYDKAS Podcast, and on our YouTube channel at What You Don't Know About Sports Podcast. All episodes are written, recorded, and edited by us. Stay tuned for the next episode.